This crosses a certain line because for many Christians, especially for Catholics, this looks as clearly as blasphemy, putting himself in the position of Jesus Christ, in the position of God.
Cześć, witam, dzień dobry. What's up? This is Mike. Today I would like to talk about my president, Donald J. Trump, and how he made this huge faux pas by posting, in my opinion, a blasphemous image of himself, depicting himself as Jesus. One of his bigger supporters here, President Nawrocki's, his national security chief, has condemned him on X, and we're going to get into this video, and I want to see how you Polish people think of the president and his actions. If you think it's a joke, do you feel it's blasphemous? I know Poland has a huge Catholic base, so I'm wondering if you feel offended by this. If anybody hasn't seen this just yet, we're going to get into it right now. So we can see this story. Polish presidential official calls Trump Pope attacks and Jesus graphic insult to all Catholics. So I would like to see this. The national security advisor to Polish President Nawrocki, who was a conservative Trump ally, has criticized the U.S. president for a social media post attacking Pope Leo XIV and sharing an image that appears to depict Trump as Jesus. President Trump's post and the graphic attached to it regarding His Holiness Pope Leo XIV exceeds all norms and is an insult to the Vicar of Christ and thus to all Catholics, wrote Sławomir Sienkiewicz, head of Nawrocki's National Security Bureau. I don't know what's happening with President Trump, if he's under a lot of stress because of the situation in Iran. I don't know if at this point his age is starting to show some effects of his age in terms of his mental stability. I cannot imagine being almost an 80-year-old man running a country, especially, kind of overseeing a war on a couple of fronts. So we can see here on Trump's Truth Social, Pope Leo is weak on crime and terrible on foreign policy. He talks about fear of the Trump administration, but doesn't mention the fear that the Catholic Church and all other.
Why did you attack Pope Leo on Truth Social?
I don't think he's doing a very good job. He likes crime, I guess. He hit us. Think of it. He's worried about fear. What about the fear when the ministers and the priests and all of those great people that were arrested during COVID, and in many cases they're outside 10 feet apart and they were arrested? We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that...
So this is Trump. If you know anything about Trump, or if you don't know anything about Trump, Trump is, in my opinion, his own worst enemy. He keeps getting in his own way because he's not able to allow anybody to criticize him without him firing back some type of response. He's actually, it's one of the reasons why I liked him his first go around, because he wasn't afraid to fight back against some of the status quo politicians that we have in the United States. But when I can see him in his second term, maybe not unhinged completely or entirely, but definitely not the same guy in his first election. And we're also living in a different time, so I don't expect him to be the same person entirely. One of the things in the United States, one of the traditions we have with our presidents is basically on Easter every year, the president generally holds some type of speech on the balcony of the White House. They talk about religion, Christianity, warm wishes for the people, the sacrifices that were made in the past, Jesus, all of these good things. But in this particular case, Mr. Trump, President Trump, gets into this weird space where he's actually talking about how powerful the United States is. He has an Easter rabbit, a Easter bunny next to him. His wife, Melania, is next to him. So it kind of creates this weird image where in a time of reflection, when we're talking about religion and the most important religious holiday of the year, he goes into this weird kind of rant about how powerful the United States is. Take a look at it.
It's a day where we celebrate Jesus. It's a day where we celebrate religion. And it's an honor to be the President of the United States. Our country is doing so well. like it has never done before. You'll see that very shortly. And things that we've done have not been done before. We've broken every record on the stock market. We've broken every record in our military. And what about the rescue that took place yesterday? What about that? That's something that you rarely see. You know, they were giving me a briefing about that. And they said normally when you're in very hostile territory, and I don't think it gets much more hostile than Iran, they're capable fighters, they're very tough people, and there are others like that. You don't mind when the enemy is weak, but that enemy is strong. Not so strong like they were about a month ago, I can tell you. In fact, right now they're not too strong at all, in my opinion, but we're soon going to find out, aren't we? But I just want to say we have a great military. We have the greatest military, the most powerful military any place in the world. You saw what happened with Venezuela. And it's an honor. I built it in my first term, and I didn't know I was going to be using it this much in my second term, but it's my honor, and they're the greatest people on earth. Our warriors are the greatest fighters on earth, and they very much appreciate you and love you, and that's why they do it. So this is all about today. I must tell you, I came out and I expected we were going to be talking about farmers, and we love our farmers. We were going to talk about so many different products, but you know what they want to talk about? Sir, this is about eggs. Eggs.
So you've seen that. If we continue this, in one of the posts in question published by Trump on Truth social platform late on Sunday, he accused Pope of being weak on crime and terrible on foreign policy. The Pope has nothing to do with crime nor foreign policy. It follows recent criticism by Pope Leo of U.S. attacks on Iran and Trump's threat to destroy Iranian civilization. I don't know if you've seen these tweets. He's basically said he's going to, or these posts, he said he's basically going to annihilate Iran and send them back to the Stone Age, and they'll never have a civilization ever again. Now, these are really, really, really big words. And when you have a president that speaks in such a way, at least for me as an American, it creates a lot of uncertainty. And I just can't imagine what the climate is back at home. And I do not look forward to go back to the United States and see what this looks like, especially in a state like California. I don't want a pope who thinks it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I don't want a pope who thinks it's terrible that America attacked Venezuela. And I don't want a pope who criticizes the president of the United States because I'm doing exactly what I was elected in a landslide to do, he continued. So this is what I was just saying. It's very hard to criticize Trump without him having a rebuttal. He just always has to get the last word in. And, you know, this must be a really tiring person to be with. Like I said, my opinion about him has changed. I don't agree with what he's done or is doing in Iran. I'm not a fan of it. He campaigned so passionately about no regime change, talking about how all of these things were a mistake, how his one of his predecessors, George Bush II, went into Iraq unnecessarily.
The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake.
So
George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it?
You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right.
They lied us into a war. So to see this guy actually now kind of using the same talking points that he once condemned is really strange for me. Trump then went on to say Leo should be thankful to him because the American was only chosen as Pope due to Trump being U.S. president. Leo should get his act together as Pope, he concluded. It's crazy. Shortly afterwards, Trump then published another post that contained an image appearing to depict him as Jesus healing a sick man. Now, Now, I am not going to sit here and pretend like I'm outraged by this because I do have a sense of humor. I'm not so steeped in religion where I don't have a good sense of humor and cannot take a joke. But this is for you, Polish people, more importantly. How do you feel when you see an image like this? Whether you're atheist, whether you're Catholic, if you watch this video, when you see an image like this, how do you feel about it? If you see it's a joke, Do you consider it to be blasphemous? I don't know, again, if anybody has seen this or is keeping up with this, but Donald Trump in one of the interviews after this was posted and then subsequently deleted from his Truth Social, he said he thought this was him as a doctor healing people.
Mr. President, did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depiction. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as the doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor.
If he really thought this was him posting himself as a doctor, then I guess he doesn't know what doctors wear as uniforms. Like, I don't know what type of doctor he thought he was, if in fact that's true. But in my opinion, he's been so blatantly honest the whole time. This actually goes counter to who he is as a person, because now he's kind of ducking and dodging questions. It was a very good, quick response that he thought he was a doctor. But in my opinion, I think he should have just been honest, and I think it would have landed differently because most people wouldn't have condemned him. But again, I'm not so religious. I'm not religious, to be honest with you. So for me, it doesn't have the same impact on me that it might have for believers. The post, and in particular the image of Trump as Jesus, have caused anger among many Christians, including some U.S. conservative commentators. I cannot understand why he'd post this, wrote Fox News host Riley Gaines, "God shall not be mocked." And for a Fox News host to push back against him tells you how offensive this was to a lot of people in the country. I don't know if the president thought he was being funny or if he's under the influence of some substance, or what possible explanation he could have for this outrageous blasphemy. But now he needs to take this down immediately and ask for forgiveness from the American people and then God, said the Daily Wire's Megan Basham. In Poland, Catholicism is a dominant faith, with over 70% of Poles identifying Roman Catholics in the last national census. The church has played a significant role in Polish history, and it continues to exert influence over politics and society today. That is so true. We see it with very strong limits on abortions here. We can see there's certain parts of religion that is taught in the public school sector. So yeah, Catholicism is very strong here. Even though the numbers are decreasing, it's still very strong here, very, very present. Now, Podolsky has enjoyed close relations with Trump since launching his successful bid for the presidency last year. He was invited to the White House to meet the president during the campaign, while Trump's then Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem flew to Poland to endorse Podolsky. After taking office in August, Podolsky's first foreign trip was again to meet Trump in the Oval Office. Last month, Podolsky flew to Texas to speak at CPAC, very popular in the United States. I can see this is in Hungary. However, Shinkevich's criticism of Trump is now the second time in the last 2 weeks that one of Podolsky's senior advisors has voiced opposition to the actions of the U.S. president. Marcin, forgive me, I will not say this, Przydacz, the head of the president's International Policy Bureau, recently said that the United States could have shown a minimum of respect by consulting with its allies before attacking Iran, rather than expecting support when problems arise. So you can see Trump is talking about the relationship between the United States and how it relates to the European allies and NATO. Donald Trump keeps talking negatively about NATO and the European membership within NATO, and how NATO wouldn't exist if it wasn't for for the United States funding NATO, and how this alliance isn't necessarily important to America's interests. I think it's really sad because, again, it goes against the grain in terms of diplomatic norms, in my opinion. I am not necessarily into insulting anybody, especially when we're talking about religion. I do like to believe I have a good sense of humor, so this doesn't strike me to my soul, to my core, where I'm offended by it. So for me, because I know President Trump, I've known him for a long time in terms of who he is as a pop culture figure. He has this type of humor. And I'm wondering if we're getting a little too sensitive in society where we're not able to take a joke, or is this legitimate and is this really offensive to Catholic people, Catholicism, and all religions around the world? As always, this is Mike. I appreciate you guys spending time with me. See you on the next one. Cześć.